نستغفره ونتوب إليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء، واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم، ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد، فإن خير الحديث كتاب الله، وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة ضلالة، وكل ضلالة في النار. وبعد. Alhamdulillah. So this is the third lesson in this course about fiqh. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. And I'd like to mention any brother who missed maybe lesson 1 and 2, you can watch it in the YouTube channel of Kokni Maghrib. It is there. So what we covered so far, the first one was introduction about the fiqh, the importance of fiqh, how we extract the rules about fiqh, what the scholars said about all of these things. And then last week I spoke about water, and because it is very important for all of us to understand the water, which water we can use for wudu and ghusl, or also what they call it izalat al-najasa, to move the najasa from your body or from your clothes or from anything else. Now today inshallah we'll talk about al-najasa. And when you hear the word najasa, it came from najas, so al-najis, and it is impurity. So this is the meaning of al-najasa. So some people, when they try to explain najas, they say dirt. No, it's not dirt, because even if there is some mud on your clothes, you're still able to pray with that clothes. But maybe another type of najas, even a little bit of it on your clothes, you cannot pray with that clothes. So it's very important for us to understand what we mean by najasa. It is something that if you have it, you have to move it, otherwise you cannot pray if you have any of these things on your clothes or on your body or in the place where you are praying. So when we say najasa, as I said, it refers to impure substances that Muslim must avoid and wash off if they should happen to contaminate his clothes, body, or so on. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, وَثِيَابَكَ فَطَهَّرْ, and your clothes purify it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in another ayah, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ التَّوَّابِينَ وَيُحِبُّ الْمُتَطَهِّرِينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves those who are repenting and also those who are purifying themselves. So let us look now what the Sharia consider as najasa. The first thing is the dead animals, and this refers to all the animals which die from natural causes and that is or without the proper Islamic way of slaughtering. So any animal, if it is a cow or a sheep or a camel, and that animal dead by itself, or something happened to it, fall down, and it's not slaughtered, this now consider what? Consider najis. Obviously I cannot use it for anything, that the meat of this animal. It is also includes anything that is cut of a live animal. So if there is an animal and just for argument's sake someone cut its leg or its shoulder or anything of this consider also now najis, and this mentioned in Abu Waqid al-Laythi reported that the Prophet ﷺ said, what is cut of the live animal is considered dead. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, if you cut anything from a live animal, then it's considered to be like the dead animal. And this hadith related by Abu Dawood and At-Tirmidhi, who classified it Hasan and Sahih. Now, there is dead animals in another place. So this is when we talk about the dead animals on the land. What about the dead animals in the sea? The dead animals in the sea are tahir. They are not najis. And the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned this in a hadith. And this hadith sahih, he said, 2 types of dead animals and 2 types of blood have been made lawful for us. The types of the dead animals are seafood and locust, and the 2 types of blood are the blood of the liver and the spleen. So the hadith said, حلت لنا ميتتان السمك والجراد وحل لنا دمان الكبد والطحال. So Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, obviously, as I said earlier, dead animals in general are najis, but what we exclude from that, these types which in the sea. Firstly, all types of fish without any exception. And I know in some other fiqh they are saying certain types of fish is haram, but there isn't any proof for that in the Quran or the Sunnah, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned clear in the Quran that everything in the sea, in the Bahar, which is mentioned, أُحِلَّ لَكُمْ. It is halal for you to eat it and do what you like of it. And if it comes to the shore and this is dead, obviously, then you can eat it, and is not considered najis as we spoke about the other animals. The other one, the locust, which is bil-Arabi called al-Jarad. So, because sometimes these types of Jarad comes and cover the whole land. Now, any dead of these locusts also will be tahir, and also it is allowed to eat it. Now, in the same hadith, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam spoke about another 2 types of blood. And why we are mentioning the blood here? Because we'll see in a minute that the blood also najis, but there is 2 types of the blood is not najis, which is al-kabid, the liver, and the tahal, which is the spleen. Because when you go and buy a liver, you can see it's full of blood, but it is halal to eat it, and also it is tahir, it's not najis. And this is related by Imam Ahmad, Al-Shafi'i, Al-Bayhaqi, and Darqutni, and Imam Ahmad, he supported this opinion as well, and he said this is hadith sahih. And there are another type of dead animals, which is that have no running blood, like bees and ants. Now, these types of animals, they don't have blood in themselves, so these consider tahir. And even if they fall in a water or fall in a food or anything, that food is still tahir, the water is still tahir. And this is the majority of the scholars with this opinion, and this is what Imam Ibn al-Mundhir said, I do not know of any disagreement concerning the purity of such water, save what has been related from Imam Shafi'i. So the majority of the scholars with the opinion that if it is to do with the bees and also the ants, that water is still tahir, it will not make these things impure. The only exception of the scholars, Imam Shafi'i, and he has his opinion on this. And he said, Ibn Mundhir, it is well known that his views or he used them as being impure. Nevertheless, it does not bother him of the object falling into a substance that not alter it in any way. Now, what about parts of these dead animals? Bones, horns, claws, fur, feathers, and skin. Do you consider it tahir or najis? Concerning the bones of dead animals, as Zuhri said, I have met some scholars of the preceding generation who used such objects for comb and pots for oil, and they did not see anything wrong in that. Now, this is an important thing that we need to know, because obviously not all the people they are using the bones of the dead animals, but some people they use them to comb their hair. Maybe in some areas, maybe they use them to store something in them. Because now these being separated from the dead animal, so it is not considered dead animal anymore. It is only part, and the dead animal in itself vanished. So what's left from the bones of these dead animals considered tahir. It is not najis. Even there is hadith in Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he said to one of the sahabiyat, when they gave her a sheep and that sheep died. So Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam paused there and he said, what happened here? And she said, someone gave us this sheep, but it dies. So Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he said, take the skin and use certain chemicals on it, and then you can use it, you can sit on it. And this was common practice. I've seen it myself, that the people that the skin of the goat or the sheep, they just use some chemicals on it. Then, especially in the winter, they put it and sit it. Even people, they are making some cloaks from all these things. So it is halal to do that. Again, the reason, as I explained, how the scholars understood this, because these things, which is the skin, the bones, anything to do with it, is not dead animal anymore. The dead animal is finished, and these things remain from that dead animals. And it is mentioned in this hadith, as I said, that in Nisa'i, he said, do not mention treating this. So he spoke about the skin, and in all that has been revealed to me, I do not find anything forbidden to eat if one wants to eat pork or swine flesh. So Ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala anhu was asked about these things using, as I said, the skin or the bones. And he mentioned the ayah in Surah Al-An'am, قُلْ لَا أَجِدُ فِيمَا أَوْحِيَ عَلَى طَعَامٍ يَطْعَمُهُ إِلَّا أَنْ يَكُونَ مَيْتَةً أَوْ دَمًا مَسْفُوحًا أَوْ لَحْمَ خِنْزِيرٍ. He mentioned these three things. Mayta, which is dead animals, dam masfuh, the blood, and also the pork. So he said anything other than this considered to be halal, and it is not najis. And then Ibn Abbas, when he spoke about this, he said, what is forbidden is its meat. As for its skin used for water skins, teeth, bones, fur and wool, they are permissible, and is narrated by Ibn al-Mundhir and Ibn Abi Hatim. Similarly, it is rennet and milk are considered pure, and this is supported by the fact that when companions conquered Iraq, now they came to these people, and these people used to be Majus. They are worshipping fire, and they have milk and they have cheese. And the question came now, can we eat the cheese of this? can we drink the milk of these people, because these people worshipping the fire. And Salman al-Farisi radiyallahu ta'ala an, he said that, look, there are matters Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it clear halal, and there are matters Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it clear haram, and there are matters Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't mention it, didn't talk about it. So if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't say to us about certain things that it is haram, so it is what they call it bil Arabi ma'fuun an, so it is permissible, you can eat it. This is why when it comes to these things, now we are living in this country, and you'll go to buy cheese, something, as long there isn't anything to do with khinzir in it, which is doubtly, because as far as I know, they don't use the khinzir, I mean the swine, in making the cheese or these things, or if there is alcohol. So all types of cheese, if there isn't any haram in it, then it is halal. Doesn't matter if, because now the milk that we are drinking, all these things, the people who are growing it and looking after it, they're not Muslims. But we are not saying, okay, when it comes to meat, I have to be sure that it came from a farm that Muslim is looking after these. I cannot do this. This makes their life very, very difficult. The same with yogurt, the same with the cheese. As long as there isn't anything mentioned in the ingredients that there is alcohol or there is something to do with pork, so it is halal insha'Allah ta'ala. Now we come to the blood. Now the bloods, there are different types of blood. The first one, the blood which pours forth from an animal's body, such as blood from a slaughtered animal, or form or menstruation, except for what small amounts are overlooked. Now, when we talk about blood, so if you slaughter an animal and the blood which comes from that animal, without any doubt, this blood is haram. It is najis, it is haram to drink it, it is haram to use it for any reason, even to be part of anything. But someone is slaughtering a sheep, and while he's slaughtering, maybe a little bit comes to his clothes. If you can wash it, wash it. But if you cannot wash it, as long as it is something, what they call it ma'fuun an, yasir, only a little bit, then there is no harm insha'Allah ta'ala. But if you are slaughtering the sheep and then you look at your thobe and half of it now became red, obviously you cannot pray with that thobe anymore. You have to change it, or you go and wash all of it. So this is the first thing. If it is to do with the blood of animals, this blood in itself is najis and it comes to your clothes, then you have to move it. Now, there is another type of blood, which is, all of us we know about women when they have their period. That blood also is najis, and this is why all the time it is recommended that the lady should try her best that blood in itself, if it is to do when it's the period or after giving birth, that blood also najis. She has to be sure that all the time she clean herself, and if there is any of this blood, as I said, when it is good amount or big amount, this means that she has to wash it to get rid of it. Again, if it is only small things, if you can wash it, wash it. But if you cannot wash it and it is again just very small, then there is no harm, inshallah. Then there is another type of blood, which is if you have spots. So someone has a spot here, and while he's doing this, then the blood comes from that spot. Now, most of the scholars, as far as I know, except the Ahnaf, they are saying that there is no harm in these types of blood, but the Ahnaf, they consider these type of blood, even it is a little bit, then it will invalidate the wudu, and if it comes to the clothes, you have to wash it. But this is an opinion, as I said, in Ahnaf. But what the other scholars saying, saying that Sahaba Ridwanullahi alayhim used to pray and they are wounded and the blood is coming from their body. And obviously, when a person is wounded, you are not talking about 1 drop or 2 drops. There's a lot. Even they said, Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, when he was assassinated, obviously he didn't die straight away. He was alive for maybe, I think, 3 days after that, and the blood still coming from his body, and he kept praying despite that fact. If a person, he has a problem, not these things, as I said, small things. I don't know the name of it. Some people, they have continuous blood coming from their back. Now, if this is continuous, and obviously the amount of this blood is not small anymore, now this blood becomes now najis, and the person needs to clean himself. If it is a disease, continuous disease, then there is another solution for that person. He has to make wudu for every salah, and if some blood comes while he's praying, then that will be accepted. But because the amount of this blood now is a lot, then that blood becomes now najis, because it's a lot, and as I said, it is a continuous thing. The pus there is no harm of the pus because it doesn't consider as blood. And I read some of what the scholars said here. Ibn al-Jarrah said about the Quranic verse, or blood poured forth, al-An'am, that this is the blood that flows out. The blood that does not flow out but remain in the veins is permissible. And this is related by Ibn al-Mundhir, and it is also related from Abu Majlis in this discourse on blood, that he was asked, what about the blood that remains in the slaughtered sheep or at the top of the cooking pot? You know, sometimes you buy some meat, and when you cook it, you can see some blood on the surface of that meal, or of that food that you are cooking. What's the solution here? There is no harm in this, and he said there is no problem with it. What is forbidden is the blood that flows out of the animal at the time of slaughtering. And this was recorded by Abd ibn Hamid and by Abu Shaykh. It is also related from Aisha radiallahu anha, that she said, we used to eat the meat when the blood was streaking the pot. Al-Hasan said the Muslims always prayed even while they were bleeding. This was mentioned by Al-Imam Al-Bukhari. It is confirmed that Umar radiallahu ta'ala an prayed while his wound was bleeding, and this is what Ibn Hajar said in Fath al-Bari. Abu Huraira did not see anything wrong in a drop or two of blood during the prayers. Based on this report from Abu Huraira, the blood of a flea or the blood that comes from a pimple are to be overlooked. Abu Majlis was asked about pus, that gets on the body or the clothes, he said, there is nothing wrong with them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions only the blood, not the pus. And commenting on this subject, Ibn Taymiyyah rahmahullah ta'ala says, it is obligatory to clean the clothes from pus and anything similar. He also says there is no proof concerning its impurity. It is preferred for the person to avoid contact as much as possible with these substances. So the conclusion of all of these things, brothers, about blood, that the main blood which is najis is the one from the animals that comes from the period or after the giving birth of the woman. But if there is spots or there is pus or these things that it doesn't make you or make your wudu invalid or make your salah invalid, or you find some of these things on your body or your thobe, your salah is correct. But as Shaykh al-Islam bin Taymiyyah mentioned, it is better to move these things from your clothes when you are praying. If there is traces of blood or something from pus, move it. In this way it will be better. But if you pray with it, alhamdulillah rabbil alamin, still okay. The other thing which is najis, impure, the pig's meat, according to the verse in Al-An'am, ayah 145, quoted earlier, items mentioned there are impure. The pronoun there refers to all three, which is blood and the dead animals and also the pigs. And it is, however, allowed to knit with the hair of a pig, according to the most of the scholars. Which is, I don't think the people, they are using these things. We try to avoid anything to do with the pigs, despite the fact some scholars, they said, you can use some of the skin. Another thing which is considered to be najis, vomiting of a person, urine and excrement. There is agreement among the scholars that these objects are impure. So we are talking about three things here. We are talking about vomiting. So someone vomit the food which comes out from your stomach, now consider najis. And we can understand why it is najis, because when it goes to the stomach, it mixed with acids and all of these things. So even medically, it is not good for your body. Secondly, the urine. Thirdly, anything comes from the same place where the urine comes out. And there is agreement among the scholars that all of these things considered to be najis. But again, if someone was vomiting, maybe vomit all of what's in his stomach, and when he finished, a little bit, just a drop or something comes to your clothes, shall I stop praying now? I have to go and wash and change? No, if it is still light and if it is still liquid, most of the scholars, they said it is permissible. All the time, I keep saying this, it is better to move any of these things from your clothes before you pray. Now, when it comes to urine, as I said, all the scholars, they are agreeing that the urine, and they call it ما خرج من أحد السبيلين. Anything comes out of number one or number two, this is considered to be now najis. What about the children? Now, obviously these days, all the children has pampers, and so, but not like before. Before, they don't have all these things. So you will carry a boy or a girl 4 months, 5 months, and suddenly they with themselves, and obviously it will come to your clothes. So the scholars, they, according to certain hadith, they said they made a rule. And the rule is, if that boy, particularly the boys, if they unwin, so they still breastfeeding and they are not eating yet, especially around 6 months, then what you need to do, you put some water on your clothes and you are fine. But if that boy, I'm talking about boys now, after 6 months and they started eating, then you have to wash the whole clothes. Obviously, sometimes, in most of the cases, you have to change. For the girls, and there isn't anything in the hadith to explain why, the girls know it doesn't matter if they are below that age or after that age. In all the cases, you have to wash your clothes if there is a urine of the little girls comes to you. And even the scholars, when they spoke about this, they said normally the children at that age, when they are 4 or 5 months, the people, they like to carry them. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, made it easy for the people to deal with this matter, because if that boy, at that age, and the people, they like to carry them, every time you have to go and wash, this will be difficult. And we know there is a rule in the Sharia, which is at-taysir, to make the things easy. So how we'll deal with this? You just sprinkle water over the urine of unweaned male baby, and this is based on the hadith of Qais. She came to the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam with her unweaned son. After a while, the baby urinated in the Prophet's lap. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam called for some water, which he sprinkled over his clothes and did not give them a complete washing. And this is related by Bukhari and Muslim. So now, all of us, we know, brothers, if hadith narrated by Bukhari and Muslim, we submit, we say, we cannot argue with this. We cannot start saying, maybe it is something else, maybe he didn't find time to do this. No, this is a wrong way of dealing with these hadith. And this is what I found, unfortunately, with some schools of thoughts, even some people who are teaching this type of fiqh about water and tahara and all, even salah and wudu. They are trying to find excuse for something, try to interpret it in a different way. Why we need to make the things difficult? And I'm saying all the time, and I'd like everyone here listening to remember, Islam is a simple deen, very simple. You remember what I mentioned to you last week, when a man came and he urinated in the masjid. Urinated in the masjid. And the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and the people, they went, what are you doing? The Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, calm down. Just put water on that and finish. He found a solution. And this is what, as I said, this is what the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam used to do all the time, all his life. He is making the things easy. You will not find authentic hadith that the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam made a matter complicated. Never. Every hadith, the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, what he used to do? He used to make the things easy. I'll give you an example. When Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam performed Hajj, we know on the first day, there is 3 things you do. You do rami, stone, and cut the hair, and slaughter. So the people came, and also you, after that, you do tawaf. So someone came, he said, I made tawaf before I cut my hair. They said, No worries. Other one, he said, I cut my hair before I slaughter. No worries. And even the narrator, Jabir radiallahu ta'ala, the one who narrated this hadith, he said, we thought if we ask the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam about anything on that day, he will say, la haraj. There's no problem. You see, brothers, this is our deen. So when you will find someone make it so complicated like this, so you are carrying Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, who this hadith happened to whom? In Nabi alayhi sallam, not me, not Faqih, Shafi'i or Abu Hanifa. And that child urinated in the lap of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Remember, the house of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is next door. He just step, he will be in the house. He can go, change, and come back. Now, if the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam went and changed, come back, so what we understand, okay, if this child at that age urinated, then there is no option. The only option is to change. And the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam can't do that. It's not difficult for him. But what did the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam say? Bring me some water, he sprinkled on it and prayed, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And this shows us that all the time this deen is a simple and easy deen. And as I said to you, this hadith narrated by Bukhari and Muslim, it is not hadith that, okay, it might be Hasan or Da'if, subhanallah. Ali radiallahu ta'ala anh narrated that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, the urine of a baby boy should have water sprinkled upon it. The urine of a baby girl is to be washed off. And this is Qatada. He said this refers to a male baby that has not yet begun to eat. If he already eats, then the garment is to be washed. And this hadith is related by Imam Ahmad, Abu Dawood, At-Tirmidhi, and Ibn Majah. In Al-Fath, Ibn Hajar says its chain is sahih. So now, Imam Ali radiallahu ta'ala an, he also narrated the hadith about the same subject. But he added here another issue, which is for the boy, you put some water in it. For the girl, you have to wash, as long as the baby is not eating. Then sprinkling is sufficient as long as the boy is still nursing. If he eats solid food, his urine must be washed from the clothes and body, and there is no disagreement on this later point. Then another thing which called al-wadi. What's al-wadi? Al-wadi is a thick white secretion discharged by some people after urination. It is considered impure. Aisha radiallahu ta'ala said, wadi comes out after urination. The person should wash the private parts and perform ablution. And it is not necessary to perform ghusl. This is related by Ibn al-Mundhir. Ibn Abbas related that al-mani, the sperm, requires ghusl. As for al-madi, the semen, and the wadi, they require a complete purification. Now there is three things that which comes from the private part. So there's mani, there is wadi, and there is madi. Al-mani, which is when you ejaculate, this is mani. Now al-madi, when someone thinks about sex, and which comes from prostate, that's called madi. When something after urination, this is called wadi. Now the strange thing here, you can see, the mani, according to the majority of the scholars, is tahir. There's some saying it is not tahir, but after investigation this, I can say it is tahir, and we can see a reason for that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala making humans from this. How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala making humans from something najis? This is impossible. المني, which is the sperm, is tahir according to the majority of the scholars. And I am saying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making the human beings when this sperm comes to the egg, and then after that then will become a baby after that. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will never make human beings from najasa. Yes, you need to make ghusl from that. This is another matter, and there is a reason for this. But the others, which is al-madhi and al-wadi, these two things, as I said, the madhi which comes when you are thinking, and al-wadi which comes after urinating, this in itself najis, but it doesn't require that you are making ghusl if it comes from the private parts. And if it comes in your clothes, what you need to sparkle water on your thobe. If it is in your body, you have to clean it. There's two things. And why I'm saying this? Going back to the point I mentioned a few times, Islam is a religious who make the things easy for people. Someone is working, okay, and while he's working, some of this money he thought, for example, or just come because you have no control of it, and he's at work, and he needs to pray Dhuhr and Asr and Maghrib. It is easy to wash his body. If there's anything on his body, he can go to the toilet, just bring some water and wash it. But how he can wash now his underwear? It's difficult to wash it. This is why the scholars, they said it is enough to sprinkle some water there, and it will be fine, because not everyone can go and change and all these things, and salah is more important than cleaning these things. When he goes home, then if he likes, he can change his clothes, and he will be fine, inshallah ta'ala. But when it comes to the mani, which is, as I said, after when someone ejaculates, no, that Aisha said, radiallahu ta'ala anha, if it is wet, I used to wash it, and if it is dry, I used to just crush it, and it will go. This is how Aisha radiallahu anha used to do with the clothes of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. And there is hadith here. Ibn Abbas related that many sperm requires ghusl. As for madhi, sperm and wadi, they require a complete purification. This is related by Al-Athram. Al-Bayhaqi has it with wording concerning madhi and wadi. He said, wash your sexual organs and perform the same type of ablution as you perform for prayer. Al-madhi, as I said, this is a white sticky fluid that flows from the sexual organs because of thinking about sexual intercourse or for play and so on. The person is usually not aware when exactly it comes. It comes from both the male and the female sexual organs. And there is hadith here that Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu used to have this problem, which is al-madhi, and he asked someone to ask the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, what is the ruling on this? And the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, wash just your organs and do the normal wudu. And the hadith saying, Ali said, I used to excrete madhi, so I asked the man to ask the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, upon whom be peace about that. I was shy to do so because of my position with respect of his daughter Fatima radiallahu ta'ala anha. He said, make ablution and wash your private parts. And this is related by Bukhari and others. Sahal ibn Hanif said, I used to suffer from excessive amounts of madhi. I used to make lots of ghusl because of it. So I mentioned this to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who said, it is sufficient to take a handful of water and sprinkle over your clothes whenever the fluid appears. And this hadith is related by Abu Dawood, Ibn Majah, and At-Tirmidhi. So we'll stop here, inshallah ta'ala, and we'll give 5 minutes if there is questions related to what we said, and inshallah we'll continue next week. Jazakumullah khair. Many. Okay. If someone he sleeps with his wife and he doesn't want to make ghusl at the same time, he can make wudu and go to sleep. This is what your question. You cannot pray with that. This is about many, not many. Yeah. Yes, you can pray. If it comes from your body, you have to make wudu. Every time it comes. No. But if someone he made wudu, okay, and he was waiting for the salah, and while he's waiting, something comes again. Obviously, you have to make wudu again. Yes, because we'll come to this in details, inshallah. If you pass when before salah or any time, this invalidate your wudu. You have to make wudu. The only exception if someone he has a problem with this. He has disease. Yes, there's no. As far as I know, all of them are the same.